All right, let's welcome in our panel now. Bianca, Republican strategist Aaron Perrine is here. Also with us, Jack Brewer, retired NFL player and entrepreneur, and Daily Caller reporter Christy Clark joining us as well. I want to start with you, Christy, and focus back on what the corporate president, Carrie Burke, had to say about this. She wants characters to just get to be characters, but what about kids just getting to be kids and not having this sexual stuff forced on them?
Right. Well, this is two-pronged because first, you have to understand that Disney knows that parents are busy, especially given the pandemic, that many people have been laid off and they're trying to find work, and they don't have the time to pre-screen every single Disney character or Disney show that their child watches. So if they can put this into film without parents knowing, this just bolsters their agenda. Second, they're using children as social experiments. There is no way in heck that Disney would be doing this in China. They're not using they're not implementing gay marriage or any type of LGBT stereotype or character into programming in China because they know that that's not what the culture wants there. They are just really bargaining on the idea that if they implement a social agenda in their Disney films, they'll be able to have the social left push back against anybody that disagrees with them or calls them out. And so they're using this as a social experiment writ large in the country, and it's sickening to know that this is not just the premise for indoctrinating children, but for canceling adults who disagree with their children being taught about this.
Yeah, they're not doing this in China, and Winnie the Pooh, in fact, has been canceled in China, not because he doesn't wear pants, Jack, but because he looks too much like President Xi. It's a little uncomfortable for him. I want to focus on something that the chairman of Disney said on CNN this morning, Bob Iger. Take a listen.
A lot of these issues are not necessarily political. It's about right and wrong. So I happen to feel, and I tweeted an opinion about the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. To me, it wasn't politics. It was what is right and what is wrong. And that just seemed wrong. It seemed potentially harmful to kids. When you're dealing with right and wrong, or when you're dealing with something that does have a profound impact on your business, then I just think you'd have to do what is right and not worry about the potential backlash.
So by that logic, Jack, it's right to teach little kids about sex and wrong if you want to leave that up to their parents.
The Bible tells us, woe to those who call good evil and evil good. And I think that's what we're seeing right now play before our eyes. You know, this is spiritual. To even have the head of Disney, a place that we all look at as a safe place for our children, to now be switching over to this antichrist rhetoric. I mean, it really is sad. It's sad to see that they're sexualizing these babies at such a young age. I mean, to hear that they're going to try to push this even more upon our children, it goes back to leadership. And, you know, when you talk about being biased and you have laws now that force you to hire folks that think like this, I mean, you should be able to hire someone that thinks logically in the way that you want them to think in your company. And so I'm terrified right now to see what's happening across our nation. It's happening now even in the National Football League. They're forcing you to hire people based upon whether it's their skin color or their belief system. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is ridiculous. Where are we going with this, John? I don't know, but it's really depressing, man. I got to tell you.
Well, it's going to keep going like this unless people stand up, stop going to Disney, cancel their Disney Plus subscriptions, and let Disney know that this does not represent most of America. They're doing this based on a very small percentage of the population and alienating a much bigger percentage of the population. Now, Aaron, the left constantly says this is a solution in search of a problem. This stuff isn't happening, and that the right is overreacting here. But what they say isn't happening, in fact, is happening live on MSNBC. Here's a Florida teacher saying he's worried that he will not be allowed to talk about his love life with his kindergartners.
It scares me to death that I am not going to be able to have these conversations with my children because they're going to ask me what I did on the weekend. I don't want to have to hide that my partner and I went paddleboarding this weekend because then they ask, well, what does partner mean, Mr. Bernard? And, you know, I'm worried. Can I tell them what it means?
I mean, Aaron, if Jack and I go paddleboarding this weekend, kids aren't going to wonder what our, sexual relationship is. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. What do you make of this?
Well, there are 2 points I'd make. One is that the teacher said, what am I going to tell my children? Those are not his children.
Good point.
Those are the parents' children. And that speaks largely to the indoctrination you see within teachers now, saying that these are their children and they know what's best for them. Wrong. Parents know what's best for their children, and that is the bottom line there. Secondly, what I would say on that is this is continuing to perpetrate the hoax that is the Don't Say Gay bill. That is a complete lie that is perpetrated by the left and by their friends in the corporate corrupt media every day, continuing to spin up these lies. That bill does not say that. And in fact, he can talk to them about his weekend. But what a strange thing. Maybe get some friends instead of talking to 5-year-olds about what you did this weekend and about the merits of your relationship. I don't really talk about my relationship with my coworkers, let alone with a 5-year-old child. Let's put some perspective and some reality on this, which seems to sorely be missing in a lot of the conversation that the woke left mob is having pertaining to this.
Yeah, I mean, does any of us remember hearing a conversation from our kindergarten teacher about their romantic plans with their spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend over the weekend? No, of course not.
No, they're narcissists now.
Yeah, no, Chrissy,
they're so self-informed. Of course, the kindergartners could not possibly learn kindergarten if they didn't know that you went paddleboarding with your gay partner. It's like ridiculous.
I know. Jack, anything you want to say on this one?
I would take my kid out of that man's class as fast as possible. And I'm so happy to live in the state of Florida. I got to say much respect, and I'm praying for Governor DeSantis and the entire Florida legislature. Right now, you have the back of the nation. People are watching all over our country and the world. Keep standing up. We need you, because without your voices, I don't know what we do right now. We're in lost times, and it's time to fast and pray as a nation.
And Chrissy, I just want to go back to you real quickly on this, because I think Disney probably guessed, I don't know if they calculated it incorrectly, but they probably guessed that Ron DeSantis would back down and not put up this kind of fight. But he's not going anywhere on this.
But they'd be idiots if they thought Ron DeSantis was going to back down to a corporation that, like, their tourism in Florida has been growing rapidly. It's not like they necessarily, of course, Disney brings in great money to Orlando, but it's not like they necessarily need Disney to capitulate to their every whim in order to have a successful state. They were woefully ill-informed, and they were woefully ill-informed of what the public wants. The public, by polling, largely supports this bill. So Disney's on the wrong side of history, contrary to whatever Bob Iger has to say.
Yeah, and it's not the only game in town in Florida either. You got Universal, you got Busch Gardens. I could go on and on and on. Plenty of amusement parks in town. Great to see you guys on the panel this week. Aaron, Chrissy, and Jack, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
God bless you.